Hi, I'm Dr. Ben Newman. This is Ask Dr. Ben. I'm a coronavirus researcher, and I do my best to answer people's questions. Um, Generally with the science, if it is at all possible, rather than with feelings and hopes. Although I do have those. Yeah. So let's go. The next question is from Kat. Welcome back. Yeah. Let's see. And there goes the light overhead, but you know what? The sun is up, everything still works. Let's see. Question is I'm starting to get worried. I now know a number of fully vaccinated people who are getting COVID. They're in healthcare and say it's Delta. Oh, yeah. I mean, first point, something like 80% of the cases that have been properly, like fully sequenced from the US in July, I think, are Delta, and something like 90% of the worldwide cases that are sequenced. Those are pretty heavily dominated by US and UK cases, but that's the data that's available on a site called GISAID, which is where they store all the virus sequences. That's the place you go to figure out which virus is doing well or poorly at a given time. So it's one group of three related families. Interesting. Yeah. All vaccinated with either Moderna or Pfizer. There could be different things going on here. One could be a coincidence. And you'd have to do a much larger experiment to know for sure, or you'd have to have access to the patients and be able to do some stuff. Two, it's possible that it is indeed familial. So there's a genetic component to immunity. And without unpacking a full 30-minute lecture here, yeah, there are proteins that bind to little pieces of viruses, for example, and show them to the parts of the immune system that are going to change and adapt and try to learn how to recognize those. And you only get so many of these basically show and tell proteins, and some of them are much better at getting a grip on certain pathogens than others. So it's possible. I don't think there's enough information in this question to even speculate on anything like that. But yeah, that would be something that a researcher might look into. Yeah, if they were interested in this particular cluster. So some were very early to get their vaccines, which might mean sort of December, January of last year. So 6 or 7 months ago. Yeah, fine. So does that maybe mean that we're getting into the booster phase already? We are, it's there are different papers on different clusters, and there's a pretty wide spread on how well immunity seems to hold up in different people. In some people, it seems to be almost indefinite. It drops a little bit at the beginning and then just sort of plateaus and carries on. In other people, it's there and then it's gone, and then it would appear that protection is also gone. And I think the range is probably going to be pretty wide on this. And so you could say that, yeah, we're probably at the point where someone would benefit from booster shot, but we may not yet be at the point where the average person or everyone would benefit from a booster shot. And regardless, there isn't an approved booster shot, so yeah, this is all just talk at this point. Yeah, that's the idea. So the question goes on, and yeah, I think this is a good part. So does it mean that we basically should mask up, social distance, and stay away from indoor dining and activities all over again? I don't want to be the one to tell you that, but yeah, that's how I feel. That's what I've been doing on a personal level. When there is less virus around, it's one of those situations where it's not super safe to do those things, but you have a better chance of getting away with it. There is enough virus around at the moment that I do not feel comfortable on a personal level doing those things. And so, yeah, I would say, as personal advice, this is not coming directly from a scientific paper, but that's how I'm handling this. And yeah, if you're asking for my opinion, that's what it is. there will be different modeling answers to these questions, and they depend on the model they're using and what parameters they're putting into the model. So there are some papers that the FDA was citing when it was saying, or rather the CDC, pardon me, was citing when it was saying that, well, you don't have to mask indoors if you're vaccinated. But there were problems with those papers, to my eyes and understanding, and they did not look like the sort of quality of science that I would normally like to see large public health decisions based upon. Yeah. Is another polite way of saying, yeah, I don't think that the science was necessarily as conclusive as it might appear from a cursory reading. Yeah. Finally, is this going to be our lot from now on? COVID mitigating behavior from here on out? Boy, I hope not. But the alternative is vaccination. And even in really bad peaks, you generally do not have. I know they're estimating in the UK, they're a little over. They think they're a little over 1% of the country's infected right now, and that's a gigantic peak that's filling up their hospitals and is really very bad. Even in the big peaks, you're really only talking about something like 1% of the population that's infected at a time, and that many people infected is enough to absolutely cripple healthcare. Yeah, and so we keep bumping up against that. No, if vaccines were everywhere, and if everybody was doing their part to get rid of this by getting vaccinated, then yeah, it would be I think a very different picture. And no, I'm not looking forward to COVID mitigating behavior. This is a thing that we could certainly knock down within a year and probably knock out completely within a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years to get to the last corners of the earth. But this is still a very winnable fight, and one that I think is very much worth fighting. Again, those are personal opinions, as they would have to be. These are like value judgments. But yeah, that's where I get my hope. I am holding on to that hope. I don't want to see a world where we have to take COVID precautions or die. I don't feel like that makes anything better at all. So there you go. That's the best answer I can give right now. And I wish you the best. And yeah, it looks like we're in for a very rough ride over the next couple of months, paradoxically leading into the school year, which, yeah, feels like a problem to me, but yeah, isn't generating a lot of traction yet outside. So there we go. Thanks very much for a very nice question. And I hope you stay safe. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.